This is a very cool novel. In a world divided by instincts and status, a lie becomes the spark of a dangerous love. Talon, a beta, ordinary and invisible, hides behind the mask of a delicate omega to win the heart of Alaric, a powerful alpha air. What began as a game of deception soon turns into something neither of them can control. When truth shatters the illusion, love becomes punishment, and desire turns into chains neither can escape. Yet beneath the cruelty lies something deeper, a longing for understanding, a desperate need to be seen, to be forgiven. This is not just a story of power and control, but of identity, of a man learning what it means to love without lies, and another learning how to forgive without losing himself. In the fragile balance between truth and tenderness, two broken souls try to find redemption. This is the story of Talon and Alaric, a love born from deceit, rebuilt through pain, and transformed by time. Next, please enjoy this novel.
I was a vain and ambitious beta, pretending to be a delicate omega young master, deceiving the heart of an alpha heir. When the truth came out, I failed to run away, and ended up carrying his child. After being confined and disciplined for months, I finally learned to behave. Today, Alaric finally took me out. But then, I overheard his friends mocking me, saying they didn't know what tricks I'd used to cling to him. They even said Alaric was only with me to get revenge. Just as we reached the door, Alaric received a call. He gave me a glance, stepped aside, and said softly, "Wait for me a minute." I nodded obediently. Running wasn't an option anymore, so I waited by the entrance. Unfortunately, I soon heard loud laughter coming from inside. Is Alaric serious? Why would he bring that kind of person to dinner? I heard he was tricked badly before, almost couldn't recover from it. Guess he's still hung up. Just, don't say anything careless later. Who's saying anything? Come on, that little nobody. Do you think someone like Alaric would actually like such a fragile type? He's just having fun. His family would never accept a beta like that. I met him once. Sure, he looks kind of pure, a bit cute, but honestly, pretty average. No idea what kind of tricks he used to win Alaric over. TSK. I pushed the door open and walked in. They all froze the moment they saw me. Before anyone could speak, the alpha who claimed to know me blurted out, "Talon." The others turned to him, and he whispered, "That's the one Alaric brought." Realizing what they just said, they all glanced behind me. When they didn't see Alaric, they relaxed a little, then scanned me from head to toe with thinly veiled disdain. Their gazes finally settled on my face. Fair skin, clear eyes, soft features. Too pure, too clean. No wonder Alaric had fallen for me. They were Alaric's childhood friends, used to teasing and blunt talk. They never expected him to actually bring me along. One of them, a stylish guy with dyed red hair, snorted, his tone dripping with contempt. "So it's him, huh? Where's Alaric?" I ignored his look and walked straight in, casually choosing a seat. "He's taking a call," I said with a smile that curved my eyes. "I came in first, hope I'm not intruding." They exchanged subtle glances. I focused on the red-haired one, speaking softly but steadily, my tone polite yet confident. After a few words, his ears flushed red. Ha! I knew my face had its advantages. Even these proud alphas, whether they liked me or not, couldn't quite resist softening when I smiled at them. Besides, I was Alaric's partner now. That alone made them treat me differently. After all, when someone close to Alaric spoke kindly to them, it stroked their egos. The alpha who had mocked me earlier was now blushing, watching me intently as I talked. I tilted my head and gave him a small smile, catching the light just right, an angle I knew looked perfect. But before I could turn away, I caught sight of someone standing in the doorway, his expression cold as ice. My heart dropped. I was doomed. Just as I was about to save the red-haired guy's contact on my phone, my eyes met Alaric's. My hand trembled, and the phone slipped to the floor. The screen lit up, showing a photo of Alaric kissing the corner of my lips. His friends caught a glimpse. Their faces froze. When they looked back at Alaric, their expressions turned pale under his icy stare. The room fell silent. Then Alaric smiled, a dangerous kind of smile, and walked over. He sat beside me, picked up my phone, and gently placed it in my palm. His deep eyes locked on my face. His tone was soft, almost tender. "What were you talking about? You seemed so happy." But my scalp tingled. Because this wasn't how he really was. Alaric, in private, was unpredictable, cold one moment, terrifying the next. I'd learned not to provoke him. Not unless I wanted to regret it. My throat tightened as I whispered, "We were talking about you. I just wanted to know more about you." "Is that not allowed?" Gone was the confident smile from before. Now I looked small, timid, almost pitiful. Alaric chuckled. When we returned to the villa, he grabbed my wrist and dragged me back to the bedroom. The housekeeper and staff exchanged worried glances. Alaric's face was expressionless. I stumbled after him, struggling. "Let go. You're hurting me." He pulled me upstairs and threw me onto the bed. "What's wrong? Can't wait to find someone else before I'm even gone." I sat up, eyes red but stubborn. "Yeah, you treat me like garbage. You don't even like me anymore. Why shouldn't I find someone better? I'm shameless, fine. I've got no morals. Maybe I do like your friends. So what? Go ahead, hit me if you want. Hit me." I shut my eyes and lifted my chin, jaw tight, bracing for the blow. When his hand landed on my face, it was light, but still, my lips quivered, and tears spilled down my cheeks like falling pearls. Alaric always said I was made of water, but he also knew every one of my lies. Furious, he pulled out a syringe of beta pheromone suppressant and pressed the cold needle against the back of my neck. My breath caught. I forgot to cry. My whole body trembled. Every time he injected that drug, I would lose control, like a helpless creature desperate for his touch and scent. Crying, begging, stripped of pride. "Honey," I whimpered, feeling the sting on my neck. I know I was wrong, okay? It's just, they said I don't deserve you, and I got upset. I know it's true, I'm not good enough for you. I'm shameless, but please, don't be mad. Please don't hurt me, I'm scared." Alaric's eyes darkened. "Who said that?" I bit my lip, pretending to hesitate, then mumbled, "Your friends. They looked down on me. Said you were just playing around." I know that, but you're my husband. I don't care what you say about me, but they don't get to." My tone was laced with disdain. It wasn't even an act this time. The hand at my neck suddenly loosened. My knees gave way, and I grabbed his shirt for balance, looking up into his cold, stormy eyes. His silence was more terrifying than shouting. My stomach sank, then he shoved me back onto the bed again. I kicked helplessly, sobbing. He pinned me down, voice rough and trembling with fury. "Talon, stop your little games. I know you too well. You're always lying to me." "I'm not. I didn't." I shook my head, tears spilling. Later that night, I woke up with swollen eyes. Even during dinner, I couldn't stop crying quietly. Alaric snapped, "What are you crying for? You think a few tears will make me pity you?" I glared at him, voice breaking. "My stomach hurts, okay? Can't I cry if I'm in pain?" He scoffed coldly. "Does it hurt that much? You've become so fragile again." At that, my face flushed deep red. Honestly, there wasn't much to it. When we first got together, I pretended to be a spoiled young heir, an omega from a rich family. And truth be told, I'm pretty good at pretending. A little pout here, a few whimpers there, and I could play the part perfectly. The first time we were intimate, I started crying before anything even happened, whining about how much it hurt. I was being dramatic, and I knew it. Luckily, Alaric found it endearing back then. He coaxed me with endless patience. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I just assumed it was something alphas did when they were caught up in the moment, acting all tender and protective. But Alaric did it so flawlessly, so sincerely, that it almost felt real. He looked gentle, noble even. And since I've always been shallow for a pretty face, I'll admit, I really did fall for him for a while. Unfortunately, I wasn't a rich young heir. I only got close to him for 100,000 credits. Thinking back now, the love I so easily received from Alaric feels painfully cheap. That money, barely even pocket change to him, was what I sold my heart for. Sometimes I wonder how I could spend it without feeling any guilt. "It really hurts," I muttered once, biting my lip. "If you don't believe me, then forget it." The truth is, I wasn't always pretending. I really was afraid of pain. When I tried to run away, Alaric found me and brought me back. For a whole month, I could barely get out of bed. Every day felt like punishment, and I held myself together purely by willpower. Now that life's calmer, I have to complain once in a while, or else he'll think I can handle anything. He didn't say much, just looked at me with that cold expression. After dinner, I went to the garden and took a photo of the flowers he planted for me. I added a selfie and posted it with the caption, "Flowers my husband planted for me, hee." Only one person could see it, someone with the last name Shen. It didn't feel corny at all to me. In fact, I couldn't help but laugh. Sometimes you just have to sweet-talk your alpha. It doesn't matter if the trick is obvious, as long as he knows I'm trying to please him. Auntie came over with a blanket and draped it over my shoulders. "Talon, the young master is in the study," she said. "He'd like some coffee." I brought a cup upstairs. When I entered, Alaric's face was dark. He had just finished a phone call, eyes sharp and distant. "What are you doing here?" The tone stung a little, but I blamed it on imbalance. He used to treat me so gently. Still, I didn't regret leaving him that time. So I walked over, sat in his lap, and wrapped my arms around his neck. "What's wrong, honey?" I teased softly. His arms slid around my waist, his hand moving up my back. I'd lost a bit of weight, no surprise, given how rough things had been lately. His gaze softened as he studied my face. "Baby," he said with a faint smile, "wasn't I just helping you? You said people were talking behind your back, so I taught them a little lesson." My heart skipped. "Wait, you didn't have to do that. What if they retaliate?" His eyes gentled instantly, just like they did when we first fell in love. "Don't worry, just a small warning. Happy now?" I smiled sweetly, though inside I rolled my eyes. It wasn't like I was the one who handled it. Why should I be happy? I kissed him lightly. "Thank you, darling. But next time—"
Hold on, I need to pause here for a moment. This part it really hits hard. On the surface, it's about love and dependence. But underneath, it's two broken souls pulling each other apart. Talon hides behind another identity to win Alaric's affection. It looks like deception, but it's really desperation, the kind that comes from wanting to be seen, to be loved. And Alaric, for all his strength, is drawn to that fragility. One tries to hold on through lies, the other through control. In the end, both lose themselves in the process. What I love most is how the author captures the truth in their pain. It's not dramatic, it's real. That quiet kind of suffering that comes when love and freedom can't exist together. But maybe that's the message here. Love isn't about possession. It isn't punishment. Sometimes, the deepest kind of love is learning how to let go. Alright, please continue listening.
"Don't scold me, okay? I know I'm a little rough around the edges, but that's just how I am." That came straight from the heart. But Alaric frowned. "Don't say that." I laughed softly. Okay. That night, he fell asleep with his hand on my stomach as usual. His long fingers traced the soft curve there. He wasn't asleep, but he didn't speak either. I was drifting off when he murmured suddenly, "If we had a child." He paused. "Forget it. You wouldn't like that, would you, little liar?" I didn't even hear him. The next morning, he was already gone, off to work, which meant I couldn't go anywhere. The villa had top-tier security and plenty of guards. I was trapped, but I didn't plan to leave anyway. Maybe when Alaric finally got tired of me, I'd be free again. Someone like him, so proud, so untouchable, deserved an omega just as perfect. Me, I was just a beta. No pheromones, no education, no background. A street rat pretending to be something better. He probably only stayed because I amused him. A distraction, a game. And when he discovered that I'd deceived him, that I'd been a pawn used to pull him down from his pedestal, of course he was furious. That anger, that wounded pride, maybe that's the only thing that kept his interest alive. I took a bite of fish stir-fry, cheeks puffed full. At least if I kept eating, I wouldn't feel like I'd lost completely. After lunch, I lay down and let old memories return. A tear slid from the corner of my eye to the bridge of my nose. It tickled. I was just a beta, nothing special except for a decent face. Back in the university district, I worked part-time jobs. Sometimes I even filled in for students who couldn't make their classes. One day, a spoiled omega from a rich family noticed me and offered me a job, to seduce an alpha senior named Alaric. That omega had been rejected by him, many times, and wanted revenge. He thought Alaric was arrogant, so he wanted to teach him a lesson. And since I looked the part, he paid me 10,000 credits to do it. 10,000. That was more than I could make in half a year. So I agreed, and pretended to be an omega. I even bought a pheromone inducer from the black market that could temporarily fool others. The first time I saw Alaric was on the basketball court. I'd already been paid half in advance, and I sat in the stands wearing fake designer clothes. The crowd was shouting his name, Alaric. Alaric. The sun was blazing, and my cheeks were flushed. Then I saw him, tall, athletic, effortlessly confident. He stood out even among the other alphas, handsome, refined, magnetic. Around me, omegas were screaming, "Oh my God, Alaric, he's so hot." Their voices made my ears ring. Each one clutched a bottle of water, hoping to offer it to him during the break. I smirked to myself. I'm not losing to them. When the halftime whistle blew, he lifted his jersey to wipe his face, revealing those sculpted abs. The crowd screamed louder. That was my moment. I rushed forward, shouting, "Alaric." I ran too fast and couldn't stop in time. The players around him whistled. He looked stunned as I crashed right into his arms. A pale, flushed omega calling his name with shining eyes. Almost instinctively, he caught me. The noise around us faded for a moment. Then I heard gasps from every direction. "Are you okay?" he asked, voice low and gentle, still a little breathless from the game. I looked up into his smiling eyes and swallowed hard. He smelled faintly of soap, fresh and clean, not a hint of sweat. I smiled back, handing him the bottle of water. "Senior, have some water." It was the cheapest bottle you could buy, but I didn't care. He hesitated, eyelashes catching the sunlight. I stared at him openly. He really was stunning. Strong features, perfect skin, an air of calm dignity. No wonder that Omega wanted to bring him down. Watching someone so pure fall in love, it must be intoxicating. When he didn't take the water, I offered, "Here, let me open it for you." The crowd was roaring, but I barely noticed. All I could see was him. Maybe, even from the start, my heart was already betraying me. He smiled at last and accepted the bottle. I blinked up at him. "Since you drank my water, could I maybe get your number?" "Don't worry, I won't bother you much." He raised an eyebrow and refused gently. "Sorry, I don't add strangers." But I didn't give up. The second time I saw him was in one of his lectures. I switched seats with his roommate. "Hi, I'm Talon," I whispered. He looked at me calmly, unoffended but distant. The third time was at a bar. He'd had too much to drink, his pale skin flushed pink. I walked over with a drink someone else had just bought me. "Excuse me," I said, slipping into their booth and, somehow, onto his lap. His friends gasped. I grinned. "Oops, sorry, senior. I might have had too much." His eyes darkened, suddenly sharp. I leaned closer. "Will you take me to my hotel?" His hand tightened on my waist. Without another word, he stood and led me out. That night, boundaries blurred. The next morning, he gave me his number after all. But I wasn't happy. I turned away and wiped fake tears, my voice trembling. "I'm not some random Omega you can just use and forget. You jerk." He sounded gentle, almost guilty. "I'm sorry." I turned around, grabbed his face, and kissed him. "Who wants your apology, you jerk?" I said with a smirk before walking out. I only did it to make sure he wouldn't ask me to split the bill, or to keep him wanting more. After that, our relationship grew complicated. He spent a lot on me, and eventually, we became official. But I didn't expect someone so warm and kind to be so possessive. We moved in together right away. It was his place, of course. He came from a world I could never touch, wealthy beyond imagination. Every day, I lived in fear that he'd find out the truth, that I wasn't really a student, or an Omega, or anyone worth loving. I was just a dropout beta pretending to be someone else. He transferred money to me often, without hesitation. At first, I spent it guiltlessly. He spoiled me until I forgot how to pretend. But when he talked about a lifelong bond, I panicked. It hurt, really hurt. I was a beta. That wasn't supposed to happen. Still, the way he clung to me scared and comforted me all at once. "Baby," he whispered one night, "don't you want us to be together forever?" Forever. What a foolish word. We could never have forever, not with all the lies between us. "I never thought about forever," I muttered. "You're so annoying. My stomach hurts." His expression softened. He pulled me close, rubbing my stomach gently. "Baby," he murmured, "you're so delicate." I let out a small hum, my cheeks burning red, eyes glistening as I glared at him. "It's your fault. You were being too rough," I said softly. His arm brushed against my shirt, pulling it slightly aside. Alaric's gaze lingered on my stomach for a moment, a shadow passing through his eyes. He looked away and sighed quietly, a little helpless. So easily stirred up, he probably thought. Then he said gently, "All right, don't be mad at me, okay?" I snorted, the corners of my lips curving up. I loved it when he spoiled me like that, giving in every single time. But lately, I had become restless, moody, anxious, always picking fights and threatening to leave. And every time, Alaric would patiently coax me back. Then the nightmares started. I dreamed of him leaving me, of him walking away and never looking back. It felt like falling off a cliff. I woke up crying, scared, angry, and always took it out on him. Until one day, I really did run away. I even sent back the $100,000 that Omega had given me, though the money was Alaric's to begin with. I only lasted 2 months before he found me. Back then, he wasn't cold or distant like he is now. Everything changed after my second escape, after he saw the messages between me and that Omega. I'd been foolish, saying things I shouldn't have, acting like I was better than I was. When he confronted me, he was furious, and I couldn't stand it. I pushed back harder. The truth was, I wasn't a good person. I didn't love Alaric as deeply as he loved me, but I couldn't let go of the comfort he brought me, his care, his warmth, his undivided affection. I knew it wouldn't last forever. That kind of devotion never does. Once he was done with me, I'd be worth less than nothing. I tried to run again, twice. Each time, he brought me back. By the last time, he wasn't the same. His patience had been worn thin. His tenderness, gone. I had drained every drop of love he had for me. And yet, I didn't regret it. Part of me was almost proud. See? I told him there was no forever. He just didn't believe me. One night, I fell asleep and dreamed of a lot of things. When I woke up, I was dizzy, surrounded by the heavy scent of alcohol and something else, his pheromone. My brows knitted together as I rubbed my eyes, realizing he was carrying me. I slapped him instinctively. Go away. You smell awful. Normally, I shouldn't be able to smell any alpha or omega pheromones. Unless Alaric had injected me with an enhancer again. But this time, something was different. I could smell him, and faint traces of another omega. Not much, but enough to make me feel sick. I pushed at him, hitting his chest again and again. Go away. You disgust me. I yelled, voice trembling. Alaric froze, shocked. Talon, hey, don't call me that. Don't call my name. I stumbled away, barefoot on the carpet, trying to escape. He caught up, wrapping his arms around me tightly. Hey, calm down, what's wrong? Was it a nightmare? I shoved him away, tears in my eyes. I don't like alphas. I hate them. His face darkened. Talon. It wasn't the first time he'd come home carrying another omega scent. And I was just a beta. Someone who couldn't mark or be marked, couldn't sense much of anything unless things went wrong. I wiped my tears and left the room, hiding in the guest bedroom under the blankets. It hurt, but I told myself I'd be fine soon. Still, guilt crept in. What right did I have to be angry? Wasn't it normal for him to be with an omega someday? I had nothing, no money, no education, no family name. Why would someone like him ever really choose someone like me? Talon, what's going on? He said quietly, sitting beside me. I lifted the blanket just enough to mumble, just let me go. He exhaled deeply, his breath heavy with frustration and sadness. He wiped the tears from my face with a trembling hand. Talon, why are you still like this? I've forgiven you for lying to me before. You know what I gave up for you, don't you? He had once gone against his family's wishes, against a promised engagement, just for me, a mere beta. But he stopped himself from saying more. You never talk to me. You just expect me to guess. Can't you just tell me what you're thinking? That made something inside me snap. I did tell you. You smell horrible. It's you who doesn't listen. I shouted. I was too angry, too overwhelmed. Everything went dark. When I woke again, it was evening. My mind was clearer, and I felt a little hungry. Alaric was sitting beside the bed. The air was clean, no strange scent this time. When I opened my eyes, he looked relieved, reaching out to touch my face. I'm sorry, he whispered. I froze, turning my head away so he couldn't touch me. Don't move, he said softly. You're still hooked up to the nutrient drip. I blinked, looking at the 4 in my hand. Ha, what happened to me? His eyes darkened a little, but his voice stayed gentle. Nothing serious. The doctor said you've just been overworked. You need to rest, that's all. I stared blankly. Oh, so that's why I was so moody. Makes sense. He smiled faintly, brushing a thumb along my cheek. Baby, I won't be harsh with you anymore. I frowned. Why not? He didn't answer. Instead, he had someone bring food and quietly fed me. Leaning against the headboard, I mumbled, then fine. But if you're ever mean to me again, you owe me $100,000. He chuckled softly. Alright, deal. Something felt strange, but I couldn't quite tell what. A few days later, I started feeling sick, nauseous, tired, my body changing in ways I didn't understand. Everyone around me seemed extra careful, especially Alaric. He hadn't touched me in days. And then, I realized the impossible. He finally told me the truth. I was pregnant. A beta, having a baby. Is that even possible? I asked, wide-eyed. He looked at me carefully, uncertain. You're not upset. But I broke into a smile, laughter bubbling up. Huh, so it's true. I'm having a baby. Sure, it was unexpected, but maybe this wasn't such a bad thing. If I was pregnant, at least for the next few months, Alaric couldn't do anything to me. And besides, he was a rich man from an old family. That meant even if he ever left me, he'd have to support the child. I sat up straighter, a spark of mischief lighting up my chest. Maybe it was finally my turn to have the upper hand. When Alaric saw that I looked better, he let out a sigh of relief. He held my hand and asked softly, You don't feel uncomfortable about it? I thought for a moment and replied, No, not really, but, could we maybe sign an agreement? If you ever get married in the future, the child stays with me. He already had everything in the world. The least he could do was not take away something that rightfully belonged to me. Alaric frowned, deep in thought, before finally saying, Alright, though in his heart, he didn't quite understand. What difference did it make? The child was ours anyway. When I saw how easily he agreed, I glared at him and pouted, suddenly feeling upset again. Alaric asked patiently. I agreed, didn't I? Why are you upset again? Talon, just tell me what you want, I can't read your mind. I snapped. I did tell you. You're just annoying. This time, Alaric said nothing. He had grown much more patient with me lately, never raising his voice anymore. I knew it must be because of the baby. Well, that was fine. Things were good now anyway. He even let me go out by myself. Maybe the doctor had told him it wasn't healthy for me to stay cooped up at home all the time. Alaric was busy, he was a big boss, after all. Sometimes I wandered around alone and ended up at his company. There was a dessert cafe downstairs where I liked to have afternoon tea, on his credit card, of course. I even added the store manager on social media. One day, seeing me idle all the time, the manager asked if I wanted to try working part-time. My eyes lit up. I nodded immediately, and so, I started working at the dessert shop. At night, the leftover desserts were given to the staff. I couldn't eat too much, so I brought them home for the housekeepers instead. At the end of my first month, I earned 6,000 star coins. Alaric knew I worked downstairs at his building. He didn't stop me. In fact, he often drove me to and from work. What I didn't know was that the entire business complex and mall actually belonged to the Shin family, his family. The manager was patient with me, teaching me little things every day. After years of being taken care of by Alaric, I'd become a little useless. But as I started learning again, I began to regain a bit of confidence. I was no longer trapped in the small world Alaric had built for me. That night, as I was lying in bed doing my monthly budget, I froze. Oh no, I'd really spent a lot of his money. If I only earned 6,000 a month, I'd have to work for a lifetime, without food or rest, to pay it all back. I sighed deeply. Hey, could you release a bit of your pheromone for me? I asked. When I got stressed, I always needed Alaric's scent to calm down. But he was still replying to messages on his tablet, and his serious face annoyed me. It's late, I grumbled. If you're so busy, just go finish your work already. You're so annoying. Alaric put the tablet away, turned off the light, and pulled me gently into his arms. His hand rested on my stomach. What's wrong? Nothing, I muttered. I'm just in a bad mood. Don't talk to me, okay? I'm irritated. In truth, I was confused. Years ago, when I first met Alaric, I had approached him with ulterior motives, pretending, lying, trying to use him as a shortcut. He spoiled me so much that I forgot who I was. Then we went through years of chaos together. I wasn't someone who knew how to endure hardship. The first time he caught me after I ran away, he hadn't been that harsh. But the second time, when he discovered that I'd deceived him, that I'd never really loved him, he completely changed. During that period, I lived in a haze, like a puppet ruled by desire. His pheromone was my strongest addiction, it dulled everything else. Later, I learned to behave, to stop fighting back. Things got a little better. Looking back now, I realize how foolish I was, believing that no matter what I said or did, Alaric would always love me unconditionally. But no one loves unconditionally. When I chased after him in the beginning, it wasn't just fate, it was persistence. I had nothing else. People always want something, just as I once wanted his beauty, his wealth, his affection. Talon. He cupped my face in his hands, turning me toward him. In the soft glow of night, I met his deep eyes, and when he kissed me, I didn't resist. A beta couldn't soothe their own body like an omega could, only an alpha could calm the storm inside. So no matter how much I tried to hold back, it was never enough. But Alaric, he restrained himself completely. Whenever he came home from social gatherings, he always sprayed suppressants first, to mask the mix of pheromones he'd been exposed to. It wasn't his fault. Those events were full of people. Even keeping his distance, he couldn't avoid it. It was normal, but I was the jealous type. Alaric would helplessly tell his assistant how easily I got sulky. The assistant would just smile and say, "That's because the young master likes you, Mr. Alaric." And, sure enough, Alaric's face would soften at once. "Really?" he'd ask, a little dazed. Of course. When he came home that evening, I walked out of the living room to greet him. I was wearing an oversized sweatshirt, my expression slightly annoyed. "You're finally back. I was waiting for you to have dinner with me. I'm starving," I almost cried. His eyes softened instantly. Handing his coat to the servant, he said gently, "Let me just wash up, okay? Give me a minute, baby." "I won't wait next time," I muttered. "You're so late. It makes me mad." All right, he said with a smile. "I'll come home earlier next time." "I'm sorry." After washing up, he joined me for dinner. I sat at the table, pretending to be calm, but really, I was the one who had wanted to wait. And now I was angry at him for making me wait. After dinner, I went to my study to read. I'd already quit my job at the dessert shop and started focusing on studying full-time. I even created my own small social media channel. I wasn't afraid anymore, of being thrown out, of having nowhere to go, of not having a future. Now that I'd accepted the truth, that one day, Alaric and I would part ways, I felt more at peace. I didn't argue with him over small things anymore, didn't try to act indifferent just to save face. And Alaric's temper had softened too. He apologized when he was wrong. He called me baby. I could be dramatic sometimes, but when he treated me that way, I didn't mind being a little gentler in return. Eventually, I moved out. Alaric stayed awake the whole night before finally agreeing. He found the apartment for me, though I paid the rent myself. It wasn't that I refused his help, I just didn't want his kindness to come from a sense of duty. He had done terrible things, yes, but I wasn't perfect either. That night, he showed up drunk. I couldn't sleep in the unfamiliar place, so strangely, I wasn't surprised to see him. I helped him wash up and settle into bed. Baby, do you not love me anymore? Alaric's eyes were red as he held my hand tightly, voice trembling. Looking at him like that, I couldn't help wondering, what was I really trying to prove with all this? Maybe I just wanted proof that he truly loved me. So I asked, and you? You still love me? I'm just a beta, bad-tempered, with no skills, no status. He pulled me into his arms, pressing my head against his chest so I couldn't look at him. His voice cracked. Talon, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I love you. He knew I was insecure, too sensitive for my own good. When he found out I had deceived him, he tried not to explode, but my words had still pushed him too far. He always knew I wasn't some spoiled Omega prince. He just felt sorry for me, wanted to make it up to me. The only thing he couldn't bear was the fact that I didn't truly love him, and that everything between us had begun as a cruel game. He regretted it every time, yet he couldn't stop himself from breaking again and again. We were both so immature. I clutched the hem of my shirt and whispered, then, okay, I forgive you. I had a bad habit of exaggerating small things, like thinking he'd hurt me when, truthfully, he never did. Even when he was furious, he never truly caused me pain. But sometimes I minimized the big things, like that one fight when I blurted out, let's break up, and he simply said, okay. We both froze. Then he sighed, wiped my tears away, and said softly, can we make up now? I hadn't even been away for a month before I moved back, because Alaric confessed to me, then proposed, and even introduced me to his family. By that point, after everything we'd been through, even though Alaric's family wasn't exactly thrilled that he wanted to marry someone like me, a nobody without wealth or background, they didn't say much. Still, I didn't want to visit their house again. After Silas was born, though, they often came over to see their grandson. My parents had come once too, but only stayed a few days before going home. I come from a big family, I'm the oldest of 5. My mom kept having kids, hoping one would finally be an alpha. They all seemed to think I'd turned my life around, like a sparrow becoming a phoenix, and they never hesitated to ask me for money. But I've got a temper, and they're a little afraid of me. They love me, I suppose, but responsibility isn't really their strong suit. These days, I don't get upset over little things anymore. I'm too busy trying to earn a living. Alaric, however, wasn't too happy about that. Baby, it's time to sleep, he said. I'm editing a video, I told him. You go ahead. Talon, he said again, voice deeper this time. I turned to look at him, his face said everything. I sighed, put my work down, washed my hands, and climbed onto him playfully. We hadn't even started when someone knocked on the door so hard it shook. Daddy, Daddy, I'm here, came Silas's little voice. Alaric's face turned dark. I couldn't help laughing. The next day, that adorable little ball of energy was sent off to stay with his grandparents. That night, lying in Alaric's arms, I said softly, Alaric, I'm not mad at you anymore. He chuckled, brushing a hand over my warm cheek. Then I'll try to be even better. I grinned. Me too. I want to be like you, to grow with you, in every way. In how I think, in how I work, and in what I learn. For some reason, Alaric's eyes grew warm, almost misty. Talon, he said quietly, you've always been the best. I still remember the first time we met. That bright smile, those clear eyes. They crashed right into my heart and never left.